Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Let's go over one little rule that applies to SSI claims. As many of you probably know, SSI requires the same disabled legal conclusion as SSD. So SSI, Supplemental Security Income, SSD, Social Security Disability, two different programs, but they both use the same definition of disabled. Same people work up the case. Sometimes you might have a concurrent case with both. The one finding of disabled is going to apply to both. Okay. Now, SSI has the component of financial need. It's a needs-based program, aka welfare, and you have to be of a certain level of need as defined by the SSA, those rules, to determine if you meet that prong of the requirements. That would be one of the non-medical requirements. SSD, Social Security Disability, does not have that financial criteria that SSI has. It's a whole different animal. Okay, so when we are married and we have a spouse who has income, that income is going to be in some way, shape, or form looked at and considered in the calculations of whether we are needy. And people say, well, it's my spouse, it's not mine. No, mistake. That's not true. If you look at your state's divorce laws, marital responsibility laws, that is not true. In fact, anyone can sue their spouse for any equitable access to portion of use of their spouse's income or assets if they feel that they are not being sufficiently shared in the marital unit. That's called spousal support. By and large, you don't even have to be divorced to do that, people. Obviously, anyone who's going to do it, their marriage is pretty much shot. But that's why you can do it before you are divorced. You can be separated. I don't even know that you have to be separated, but it's just pretty funny that you would stick around with someone who doesn't mutually with you share and work together financially. But that's a whole nother story. But point being, when you are married, the income or ostensibly the resources, and there can be exceptions with, premarital property, but I'm not getting into any of that. My days of marital law and divorce and family law are far from over, far, far, far away. Or long time have been over. I will never do it again. So when you say, people say, well, I couldn't get the SSI because of my husband's income. Well, that's right, because his income is your income. By and large, if you have not managed your marriage well enough to have that inequality and you're just like the hired help that doesn't get a paycheck and is not properly being cared for by that partner, that's a different issue. Take it to marriage court, all right? But the neighbors, the taxpayers, your peers are not going to be willing under the SSI rules to give you money because your husband is hoarding your marital monies. Think about it. It's the only thing that makes sense. Now, it is true that if you are estranged, and that would mean physically living apart, where there is no alimony or spousal support being paid, the spouse moved out, does not assist the disabled spouse, and the disabled spouse has no income or resources or bank account of their own, then you can still get SSI if you're in that real situation. The question popped up about, so if I just lie about being separated, I'm good to go with SSI? No. If it flies, like if you're able to trick the federal government with your fraud, it might temporarily, but yeah, those things will come and bite you in the butt once it is determined that you lied. And we have on the Friday's fraud law reviews, of which there is a playlist, I think it's called Fraud, SS Fraud, maybe, a multitude of cases where spouses trying to get that extra $943 a month at the cost of their neighbor lied and said they were not together so that the one could bring it in. I mean, it's pretty despicable. But in a bigger version, in terms of your self-interest, if this was you, you can go to prison. You know, you're certainly going to have a felony, theft of government property, amongst other things. So I would take that to the bank and don't do it. I mean, if you have, again, your marital decisions are yours, but don't expect everybody else to pay for them. Capish? All righty, that's it. Tough talk. Later, guys. Hey, so if the subject matter of the video you just listened to is of interest and you want more on it, stay tuned. Here's another one about the same topic, but a little bit different. Bye now. Good morning and Happy New Year. Reiterating something about SSI. For those of you that are filing or about to file or have already filed, you need to look at this really closely. You want to look at every bank account you have out there, even if it only has $50 in it, or you've forgotten about it, or if it's jointly titled with somebody else. Sometimes family will do that because maybe a parent needs someone to help them, you know, sign things and get certain monies moved so you can be like a co-signer. If you are a joint titled person on that account, that money's going to count as yours, or at least much of it. And any forgotten account, it could be something you socked away a little savings for something, you know, an emergency. Because if you are single and you prevail on your SSI disability claim, and again, this is SSI, not Social Security disability, but SSI, the welfare component, you are not going to get any benefits for any months that you have more than $2,000 in total. Of value of countable resources. So your cash in any bank accounts is certainly going to count towards that. Certain things that don't count, one car if you need it to get around or for someone to get you around, or a house you own that you live in. But those things thankfully are not counted. But those bank accounts can sink your ship, at least for the months in which you have or touched on $2,000. If you're married, it would be $3,000. I say this because I'm seeing people deprived of back benefits because they had slightly over $2,000 because it was just sitting there. They didn't want to spend it because they might need it for something emergent. But they have to. And you're going to want to do it. Ideally, you do it well before you file. If it's of magnitude over, you're going to want to keep the receipts to show where you spent it because the SSA might want to know that you didn't stick it under your mattress and still have it. Because remember, SSI is a needs-based program. And if you have more than $2,000, everything above that you're expected to use to support yourself before you ask the taxpayers to support you via the SSI program. So spend that down, keep your receipts. You could, it doesn't really matter what you spend it on as long as it's gone and it's not converted into some resource that would be counted. So it could be paying a car payment. It could be paying down a mortgage. It could be buying that TV you need because yours broke, or that computer, or the new phone or something. There are smart ways to spend down, and I would say that would include paying a mortgage of a house you own. If you need a car, having a car, but remember, cars have a lot of carrying expenses, including the gasoline right now to run them. So that might not be the thing you want to have. But in any event, for every month that you don't do this, you're not going to get any of those SSI payments. If you ended up getting them and they find out later, which they will, you're going to have a big overpayment to owe them back, which means they're probably going to take it out of the future month's benefits, and you're really going to be hard pressed financially. So look at those when you fill out the SSI information, or you're giving it to the person who, if you're doing it over the phone with a SSA staffer, have all of your bank account information. Be very accurate. And if you find that you are over, go ahead and spend that ASAP, like tomorrow. Keep your receipts and then file your claim. Okay. I hate seeing someone go 2 years and then they could have had all these back benefits and now they got none because they forgot about an inconvenient account. I think sometimes people think no one's going to see it. Other times I do think they forget them, particularly if it's like a dual titled account that they don't really consider theirs because it's a parent's and they're just on it to help them. You got to get off those. Okay. So give that some thought. If you have any questions about it, I think you can probably call the SSA and they will explain further. But in the meantime, you're going to have to take care of your finances in that way, or you're not going to be entitled to any of the back benefits, nor after you win any of the forward benefits if you still have over 2,000 in those accounts and with all of those countable resources, if there's any others. Okay. So do your due diligence. There is information on this on the ssa.gov website concerning other things that don't count and what does count as a resource. So take that all into consideration. And if you have any questions, the SSA is sure to help when it comes to those kind of financial numbers. And otherwise, you know how to reach me. Take care now. Bye.